the coordinator, main coordinator for every festival and the activity. Is a part of management. Mataji is involved in Lady Sangha, Vaishnavi Sangha. She's helping nourish Matajis as well as young gopis. So thank you, Mataji, for your consistent services. Is Prabhuji here? Should already? From the right person. Let's chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra from bottom of our hearts to shower the choicest blessings of Sri Radha Gopi Jabala, Mithai Bhaktivan Gauri, and Sri Gopal, this beautiful, amazing, illustrious family. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. And also, we have seen WhatsApp messages, we have seen posters, and we have heard different talks. 3 days from now, we are observing Narsimha Chaturdashi, 22nd May. It's Wednesday, it's weekday, but still there are multiple activities that are planned. We have Kirtan, we have Abhishek, we have discourse, and we have amazing prasad. The festival starts from 5 p.m. So please block your calendar. If you want to, put out of office to leave it early, or you want to take day off, this is the perfect time to do that if you have not done already. So again, 22nd May, Narsimha Chaturdashi celebration, right here in Farmington. I know our speaker. Anyone knows who's our Sunday speaker for the His Grace Chaitanya Sharan. He's running a little bit late. He's in the program. He's driving right now. So till he comes, we'll continue our traditional way of waiting. What we do? Amazing Kirtan. His Grace Sachita Prabhu is going to lead us to amazing Kirtan. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Everybody sing this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna. Yeah, devotees, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is on his way. He's stuck in traffic due to so many road closures. We hear him anytime now. So he just wanted to do a little summary, a recap of yesterday's class. So it's a test time. Are you ready?
Yes.
Wonderful. Raise your hand first, then I can ask you. What was the topic of yesterday's seminar? Wonderful. Okay, what does anartha means? Anyone? Anartha. The word anartha. What does it stand for? Yes. Perfect. Miss Kansushna? Thank you. Wonderful. And what about artha? Meaning? What else? Purpose? Values? Meaning. Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhus, for representing Prabhus. Mataji, but Prabhu also answered. Yes, yes. Equal rights. Thank you. I keep you very strict. Thank you. Okay. Who remembers there was an acronym? Everyone knows what is the acronym. No, wait. Question is, what is that acronym for? That is important, right? R is for what? No. I'm not asking what ART stands for. I'm saying what is that R? Doubt what, Manoj? Can you explain? How to handle doubts? Handle doubts. Yes. What does A stands for? Appreciate what? Each other? Appreciate doubts? Appreciating the doubt or appreciating the
What is the acronym?
ART? ART. Sorry, I missed it. Yes. Is one of the signs of intelligence. That is not the complete sign of intelligence, but one of them. Thank you. So what is the next one? R stands for refute. Can you elaborate it? Refute what? That is the point, right? We understand what ART stands for. A, like Mataji explained. Go ahead, Mataji. Okay. Refute? Anyone?
By coming in positive association or like-minded association, we defeat our argument. So we actually cover.
No. Everybody. Yeah.
By having a similar kind of association, we actually clear those doubts. That's why Prabhuji was mentioning beautifully. We should ask questions. We should clarify our doubts. Whenever we come for classes, the questions part is most important part.
Thank you. Wonderful. And what does T stands for?
Transcend.
Transcend of? How do we transcend the doubts? Can anyone explain? He actually gave a wonderful explanation. Like sometimes some things are inconceivable. What is the word for inconceivable? Achintya. So at that time, what do we do?
We accept them and transcend.
Yes, please proceed. Keep saying, right? Yes, and he used a particular word. Prabhu was very well. Yes. Faith with certainty and another one.
Humility.
Humility. That how does that go with?
Something to do with uncertainty. He used 3 adjectives before that. It's something to do
Yes,
with
that's what
uncertainty.
I'm asking actually. What is that? Comfort with uncertainty. A very important word for us to understand. We need to be, comfortable with that as well as we understand some things are beyond our understanding. Why? Because we are still material, material intelligence. If you are trying to understand something is material intelligence, it is not possible to understand the spiritual subject matter. It's only when the acharyas, the great personalities, mercy, we are trying to understand. And some things still beyond our conception. He gave example of few things which are achitya. Does anyone remember?
Moon landing.
Moon landing, what else?
Coming back from spiritual world, fall down from
Yes,
spiritual world.
fall down of a jiva. Fall down of a jiva. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And cosmology in the fifth canto, all these things. So when it is beyond our understanding, what do? We, that's where the humility part comes in. Am I making sense? The humility part comes in. That's the time we need to accept with comfort the uncertainty. Is that okay? And okay, he said in the beginning, I'm coming back to the topic, beginning, Anartha Nivrati to Artha Pravritti, right? In Anartha Nivrati, two things we need to get purified from. What are those two things?
Doubts and desires.
Doubts and wonderful. So, what is exactly doubt we are talking about?
Being critical on whether there is God or not.
Yes. Is that what kind of doubt? There are two kinds of doubts also you mentioned, right? What are the two kinds of doubts? Two kinds of doubts, he said. Head doubts and
Heart
doubts. What are head doubts? Not that. Okay. What are the heart doubts and what are the head doubts? No, I just want some particular, terminology he used. Anyone who remembers that? Very important point for us to understand.
The heart.
Yes.
The heart doubts are the important ones and they have to be taken care immediately.
Yes.
And then the head doubts is some questions which arises in between which we have to be clarified.
Exactly. The heart doubts, we need to remember the core principles. For example, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. These are core principles. Jiva is eternal. And we are part and parcel of Krishna. These are all eternal core principles. This is what we meant. Is that okay? Head and heart. Okay. Now, we almost covered quite a bit.
Drive.
You must want to add anything?
Drive.
Okay, go ahead, Coach.
No, you go ahead.
You need.
Another point which Prabhuji talked about is drive. Can anyone suggest what was that representing? Give an example about drive. Brake and accelerator. What is brake and accelerator in our terms?
Doubts are brakes.
Doubts are brakes and
Faith is accelerated.
faith is an accelerator. So what should happen when we grow in spiritual life?
Faith should grow up and
Doubt should minimize, right? And he also talked about two circles where intersection happens, and he covered that aspect very beautifully. What is that about? Doubt and substance. Beautiful. Thank you.
That is just to encourage Prabhus.
There was another point we mentioned about specifically things about that Prabhupada may speak in the same context. He may speak in multiple dimensions. What is that point all about? If anyone remembers, what are we supposed to take it from there? Yes, ma'am.
Good, give me the. Want to explain further?
When one of the American devotee asked that I want to feel high all the time, then Prabhupada said that yes, it's good that you want to feel high. You should feel high, but it should be at all the time. It's not that you are coming down.
stay high forever.
Stay high forever.
Spiritually.
That's one. Why is that?
The another point he talked about Navavaida Bhakti. Can somebody summarize what is the point he covered on Navavaida Bhakti?
will come up.
He beautifully mentioned about we should identify what is that most important, what is out of Navavaida Bhakti, which part of devotional service attracts us the most, and we should nourish that, we should work from that piece. He mentioned that point. And on this point, which is Prabhupada giving multiple points on a similar context, he mentioned about the point we should accept the one which we come which closest to our heart. So then when we move forward, that we should have doubts, which is good, but at some time we should just take one aspect of it and then we move forward from that perspective. And then there was another point. Can you just see the diagram?
The diagram? Okay, sure. Come here. You look for it, I'll ask you. No, you do it. No, I'm going to ask you. Okay, now let's get to initial part of the discussion. What is Anartha? What is Anartha? What is it? Meaning? What else? Anartha. Wrong meaning? Okay. Value. Wonderful. What is liberty means? Anartha, we understand what is liberty. Set a particular word for it. Make us understand. Yes, you're right, you're not wrong. Please go ahead, say something. Yet rectification, yes. And he added one more word to make us understand. You want more words? Important for us. Antidote. Okay. Okay. Anything else? He used the word indifference. That is very important for us to really get the real meaning of the word liberty. Being indifferent to the unwanted things to make it easier. Does that make sense? Okay, what is Artha?
Purpose, meaning.
Artha is? Then what is Pravritti? Everybody silent? Sorry. His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki Jai. Perfect timing.
आ गया सिलेबस
Hare Krishna. So it's an honor that we have with us His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. We are all waiting to hear from him. I know he gave class on Saturday as the first part of the seminar, and today is going to continue for the second part. The first part was done, we were just reviewing with everyone. So just a few words in the direction of His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. We don't need any introduction. He's been here multiple times. He is globally known leader, preacher, and spiritual scientist. Prabhuji is in the process more than 30 plus years in Bhakti Yoga, through his modern day expression, and he authored more than 20 books that explain the relevance of Vedic wisdom, texts including the Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. Prabhuji is author of the world's only daily blog on Bhagavad Gita, which is GitaDaily.com, where he has written more than 4,000 articles on Bhagavad Gita. 4,000 articles. Is multiple invited to the speaker at TEDx, World Peace Conference, UNESCO, Intel, Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Howard, Massachusetts, and Cambridge-like universities. What a honor that he is choosing to be here, right? And he's a speaker in all these different places. And Prabhuji has given more than he gives more than 100 talks across 100 cities in 4 continents every year. Like today itself is his second class, and then he's going to give another class in days of the as in the evening. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Let's welcome इसके चरण प्रभु in our traditional way by 3 times loudly chanting.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा।
इसके चरण प्रभु I was asked to request everyone to please come forward. Come on, quickly.
I'm very sorry for being late. I had another program. I just got caught in traffic while coming from there. Thank you for your patience. I'm very grateful to be here with all of you today. And so I'll talk about our spiritual journey and how we can grow on this spiritual journey, and especially how we can deal with, I'll be using this as a whiteboard to write and draw things, how we can deal with desires. How do desires play a role in our spiritual growth? And I'll talk about 4 points which I'll explain using an acronym RARE. So now when we talk about desires, the general understanding is that when somebody is trying to practice spirituality, say this is the spiritual level, which is high up. This is the material level where we exist, and God, Krishna, exists over here. This is the world. So spiritual growth basically means we turn away from the world and go towards Krishna. And if you want to go towards Krishna, then any desire for the world is like a drag. It's going to hold us down. So the idea is we turn away from the world, we give up the world and go towards Krishna. Now, there is some truth to this understanding, but there is this whole understanding that we have to turn away from the world and go towards Krishna. That is based on a conception that Krishna exists only up there in the spiritual world. But Krishna exists everywhere. Even the material world is the domain of Krishna. And therefore, especially in the Bhagavad Gita, much of what I spoke based on these 3 verses, 1846 to 48 in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, for example, Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. He says, when we look at this world, Yataha pravrittir bhutanam, from whom the whole world has come. And not only that, yena sarvam idam tatam, by whom the whole world is pervaded. that Lord can be approached through this world. So, yes, this is one way of going towards Krishna, but there is another way of going toward Krishna, and that is through this world. We turn away from the world and go toward Krishna, and we turn toward the world and act in the world, and we also go toward the Lord. So, spiritual growth can happen in many different ways. Now, so there were two, this one acronym rare, but this image is central to what we are going to discuss. But there's one more image which will be central to our discussion before I move ahead. That, say, if we consider this to be like a vast ocean, and now from that ocean, some drops of water have sprinkled at various places. So all these are drops, and say if someone, let's see, there is over here. Now all the drops come from the ocean, but do all the drops take the person toward the ocean? No, isn't it? So if you consider these drops, if the person is going this way, then those drops are going to take the person away from the ocean. On the other hand, if the person is going towards these drops, then that is going to take that person towards the ocean. So this is the basic principle of 10:41 in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says he is all attractive, and everything attractive manifests a spark of Krishna's splendor. Yad yad vibhuti matsatvam shrimadurjitameva va tattadevavagachatvam mama tejo amsha sambhava. So mama tejo amsha sambhava. So everything attractive manifests a spark of Krishna's splendor. So you could put it in this way, that everything attractive comes from Krishna, but everything attractive may not take us toward Krishna. But it also means that it is not necessarily that everything attractive in this world is going to take us away from Krishna. There are some attractive things which take us away from Krishna, some attractive things may take us toward Krishna also. So for example, if we consider, say, alcohol. Now, alcohol may be enjoyable, but when a person gets intoxicated, is that person going to remember God by that? Very unlikely. There's a British thinker who wrote, he says, the taste of wine is the proof that God loves us. He said, if God did not exist, how could something as delicious as wine exist? Well, yeah, there is some truth to that. But for most people, when they drink alcohol, they're not going to remember God. So we could say that many of the attractive things of this world, so they are generally things which will pull us away from Krishna. So the attractive things of this world could pull us away from Krishna. It could be, now if we consider, say, the beauty of, say, the Himalayan peaks, or somebody goes to any mountain, maybe here we go to the Rocky Mountain or whatever, and we look at the majesty of the mountain, we look at the vast skyline, we look at the nature. That is beautiful. It can be breathtakingly beautiful. And that beauty may remind us that there are realities bigger than the realities that we encounter in our daily life. And that can point us towards the Lord. For many people, nature does create a little more spiritual, devotional consciousness in their minds. So basically, we could say that attractive things, by things I am referring to worldly things, they could be competitors to God in the sense that they can attract us away from God, but they can also be pointers to God. So when we are talking about the world can play this dual role. It can be a competitor and it can be a pointer, depending on who is where. So, for example, this drop, the drop which is further away from the ocean, is a competitor. But the drop which is closer to the ocean is a pointer. Hey, there's some water over here. Let's go toward that water. And if you go toward that water, maybe this water has come from some place. Let's find that out. So, with this broad understanding, this is the idea of these attractive things in this world is what Krishna calls as vibhuti. Vibhuti, bhuta means existence. Bhuta is not ghost. That is in our normal language. But bhuta means existence. Vibhuta or vibhuti means special existence. So, what is special in this world? Things which attract our attention are special. So Krishna says anything that has the potential to attract our attention, that comes from the Lord. Its attractiveness comes from the Lord. Now, whether that attractiveness takes us towards the Lord, that depends on us. That depends on our consciousness. When Ravan saw Sita's beauty, what did he do? He said, actually, he was praising Sita. He was saying, now your beauty is such that after fashioning you, the creator must have retired. Because after this, there cannot be anything more beautiful that can be made. But although he talked of the creator, but he was not remembering the creator. Isn't it? That beauty, he thought of the creator, but he wanted to be a predator. Isn't it? So the idea is that the beauty of this world, for him, it didn't really take his consciousness towards the Lord in any way. So the things of this world can be competitors or they can be pointers. Now, most often, the vision that we use is that the world is a competitor to our focus on God. And that is true to some extent. So based on this vision, what is the acronym we are going to discuss? RARE. So RARE, the first R is how do we deal with desires? So there are some desires we need to reject. Like say, if I am at a particular place, the drops of water that are going to take me away from the ocean, I need to reject those. And in that sense, there are certain activities that we are told to give up. We follow certain rules, we give up certain material indulgences. For example, we avoid eating meat, we avoid unrestrained sexual activity, we avoid gambling. So there are things like that. There are certain desires which are reject desires that are anti-devotional. Now, sometimes we may not be able to reject them, then at least reduce them. Because those desires are going to pull us away from the Lord. Now, this requires some amount of discipline, this requires some amount of self-mastery. It may happen with time. However, this is not the only thing that Krishna talks about. This is one definitely important. But after that, once we understand, okay, now this idea of rejecting or reducing desires, this is not exclusive to spirituality. Anything we want to do in our life, if we want to do something worthwhile, say if a student goes to college, the student wants to excel in college, then maybe in the college, every day there are kids going out on party. Isn't it? Now, if a kid is a party to every party, and then life afterward they will never have any party. Isn't it? Their life will be busy. So the students have to say no. So the idea is that for achieving anything worthwhile in our life, we have to learn to say no to certain things. So when we talk about desires, one of the first thing is that desires are not monolithic. It is not that we have one desire or one kind of desires. Desires are multi-layer or multi-level. There are different kinds of desires. Now, what do we mean by different kinds of desires? See, there is, we could say, what we want and what we want to want. Now, what is the difference between? Say somebody, what I want is, I want to eat any and every enjoyable food that is there. What I want is, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, I want to have a lot of energy. So, what we want is a more surface desire. What we want is a deeper desire. And everyone has multiple levels of desires. So, you could say, what I want right now and what I want in the long run. They're two different things. So many times the surface desires that we have to reject or reduce them. But beyond that, that is not the only approach that we have towards desires. So Krishna says, Tasmat Tvam Indriyanyado, for example. It's regulate your senses, regulate the indulgence. But apart from that, there are many other things. So we come to the second part, A. A is accommodate. Accommodate means that not all desires can be rejected or not all desires need to be rejected. So when we are dealing with desires, there are broadly three approaches. We work on the desires. Work on means we try to reject or reduce them. There are some desires, we work with the desires. Okay, I have this desire and I can't give this up, but there is something more in my life I want to pursue. So, for example, we consider within the tradition, there is Raghunath Das Goswami, he was a great saint, and he was so renounced that he would eat food, just some curd, and once in 2-3 days on a small leaf. But in the same bhakti tradition, there is Bhima. And when the Pandavas would be in the forest, when Draupadi got married, Kunti told her that whatever food you get, you divide it first into 2 parts. And one part you divide into 5 parts, and the other part goes to Bhima. So now that was his appetite. Now he was Bhima Karma Vrukodara. He had a particular level of appetite, and it was not that he was told that he has to become like a renunciate who eats very little. Different people have different kinds of bodies, they have different kinds of appetite. So the idea is we work with certain desires. So what applies to food can apply to, say, certain level of comforts. Some of you are sitting on floors, some of you, those who can't sit on floor, there are chairs. It's not a principle that if I want to come to a temple, you have to sit on the floor. Isn't it? No, if somebody has a particular need, that can be accommodated. So now we can say this is bodily need, but that's that the idea is that there are certain desires, many desires, which can be accommodated. So when then we talk about simple living and high thinking. Now, what does simple living mean? Simple living doesn't mean that everybody has to live in a hut or a farm. It basically means that our material pursuits, they don't consume our consciousness so much that they leave no room for Krishna. That accommodate, okay, this is one thing of my life, I need this to a particular degree, and this much time, this much energy I'm going to spend on this, but along with that, this is the time for my spiritual growth. So basically, if I consider this to be our consciousness, and now our consciousness is, say, filled with different kinds of desires. So some desires we may want to drive out. Drive out means these are what we reject. Now that may happen gradually, we may reduce them. But now some desires we accommodate them. So okay, I need a particular level of comfort. I will need a particular kind of food. But so Krishna talks about this in 6.17 and 18. Yukta ahar viharasya. Yukta. Now the word yukta has many different meanings. Yukta can be translated as regulated, which is the translation that Prabhupada uses. But there are in his lectures, and Prabhupada mentions that yukta is a variation of yoga. And yoga essentially is connected. So, connected. Yukta means that our food, our eating, our sleeping, our work, our recreation should be done in such a way that we overall stay connected with the Lord. It's like, consider sleeping. Now, Krishna, sleeping is just a biological necessity. If we don't sleep at the right time, we will sleep at the wrong time. It's not that we can cheat the body and not sleep. Now, somebody may need 8 hours sleep, somebody may need 6 hours sleep, somebody may function 4 hours sleep. That will vary from body to body. So, yukta is the important thing is not how much somebody sleeps. The important thing is what does the person do when they are awake? Isn't it? The quality of their spiritual growth is not going to be primarily determined by how much somebody sleeps. Now, there are some people who have insomnia. And over a period of time, these people just get used to insomnia. It's difficult to get used, but they get used to it because there's no option. It's not that somebody who just maybe gets a little shut eye for 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours at night, and they are all insomniacs spiritually advanced. No, it's not that. Okay, whatever sleep one needs, okay, you have that. But the important thing is focus on Krishna. So accommodate means we could say that if this is my consciousness, now within that a particular desire needs some space. But along with that, our Krishna consciousness. So this is a desire which we accommodate. We give it some space that is required. But along with that, we make sure that we are focusing on Krishna. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many examples where this same concept of yukta, of regulation. Regulation is not elimination. When we are regulating something, that means we are keeping it within a particular set of boundaries. And the idea of regulation is frequently talked about in the Bhagavatam. The theme is that each person has to take responsibility. The Ishopanishad, for example, talks about the quota. Tena tektena bhunjita ma grudha kasisvitana. So, now to some extent, some people may have been brought up in a lot of comfort. And they may need a particular level of comfort for them to focus on Krishna. And if for them that level of comfort is not there, then the physical inconvenience of lacking that comfort will be so much that they will not be able to focus on Krishna. On the other hand, if somebody has grown up with relatively less comfort, with some austerity, and then they are put in a place of great comfort, then that comfort will start consuming their consciousness. Oh, this is so comfortable, this is so comfortable. And that will distract them from Krishna. So accommodate means, so what level of regulation will keep me connected with Krishna? That is something which each individual needs to decide. So with respect to food, for example, that there could be multiple levels of accommodation. Say with with respect to food, we say prasad. Prasad in the sense that it is cultivated by farmers who are devotees. It is cooked by devotees. It is served by devotees. It is honored by devotees. That is prasad. That is the highest. That will connect us with Krishna to the highest level. That is the best. But from there, We could have many different levels. Sometimes the food may be cooked by devotees, but it may not be served by devotees. Sometimes it may be, sometimes we may take some food which is, somebody is hungry and they've been starving for a long time. Rather than falling sick, you may have to take some food from somewhere else which may not be offered in our mind, and we take it. Now, like this, we can go, but we can say vegetarian food is the bottom. That is when we are saying accommodation is not that in the name of accommodating, just give up the whole territory. Like, I can accommodate you in my house, that doesn't mean you drive me out of my house. Isn't it? So, like that, some desires can be accommodated. And this is why when we are dealing with our desires, it's very difficult to do it in the spur of the moment. It is which desire to accommodate for how much. That is where we need some reflection and we need some consultation. Both of these basically bring us to sattva, the mode of goodness. So, in the heat of the moment, I may feel, I want to eat more and more food. Or every morning, when we wake up, or when the alarm wakes us up, our urge may be, I want to sleep. When the alarm rings, what happens is, rather than the alarm alarming us, the alarm angers us. Just slam it and go to sleep. Now, okay, when I sleep, is it because I'm lazy, or is it because I'm tired? At that moment, it may be very difficult to decide that. But afterwards, okay, last night, normally this is the amount of time I sleep I need, and this much sleep I had, so maybe I could have woken up. Or sometimes we wake up and then we realize, okay, now I'm feeling groggy throughout the day. Maybe I need to take a little more sleep. So we need to be a little bit, not in the moment, we cannot decide how much to accommodate. We may have to accommodate accordingly at that particular time, but eventually that evaluation has to be done by the individual. See, the key to growth is to learn to trust ourselves. And to trust ourselves, we need to also learn when we can't trust ourselves. So, for example, if somebody regularly makes, every day I put the alarm at 3 o'clock, and then I wake up at 6 o'clock, then the only thing that is going to happen is I stop trusting myself. I make resolutions, I don't keep the resolutions. And then we stop making resolutions only. Or we stop taking our resolutions seriously. And that is not a very healthy thing. Like sometimes New Year comes and somebody said, one devotee told me, I made 108 resolutions. I said, if it's 108, it's not a resolution, it's a wish list. The resolutions you can work on are maybe 1, 2, 3. Maybe you can make one resolution for 1 month, and over the next maybe 5, 6 years or 10 years, you can do the 108 resolutions. But the point is that when we have to accommodate, we have to negotiate with ourselves. Look at ourselves, where I am at and how much I can do at this particular time. So otherwise, if you're not accommodating, if this accommodating is not there, accommodation is like the middle of the pendulum. If we're not accommodating, then we are suppressing. And if we suppress, and there are two different things, there's suppress and there's repress. When we suppress, we don't express. But when we repress, we deny that it even exists inside us. But eventually, this will lead to an explosion. Because it cannot be buried for very long. It can lead to an explosion, or it can lead to an implosion. Explosion means we get angry at whoever is telling us follow these rules. Or implosion means we get angry with ourselves. And we just think I'm worthless, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, I'm ruined. So it's like I'm fallen, let me stay fallen forever. It becomes like that. That is not very healthy. On the other hand, we just surrender. Not to Krishna, but to the desires. Any desire comes up, I'm just going to do that. I feel like eating, I feel like sleeping, I feel like watching TV, I feel like this. We just give in to desires. So we need to learn to accommodate. Accommodate is the balance between the two. And this is something which each individual needs to do. And it also, each individual needs to do, and each individual needs to give other individuals that space. So if just because I can eat simple food and survive, doesn't mean everybody has to eat simple food. Or just because somebody can manage with say 6 hours sleep, doesn't mean anybody who sleeps more than 6 hours is a lazy person, not spiritual serious. Just because somebody can live with a particular level of financial security, doesn't mean that anybody who doesn't live at the same level of financial security is attached. It can vary from person to person. So this is where we accommodate. And if we consider Srila Prabhupada's own life, Srila Prabhupada, when he met his spiritual master, what happened? He said, his spiritual master, in the first meeting said, now you know English, spread Krishna consciousness in English language across the world. And Prabhupada said that if I had not been married at that time, I would have joined the mission, immediately joined the mission of my spiritual master. But he said, I was married, I had a wife, I had a small child. It would have been unfair to them. So Prabhupada accommodated his family responsibility and he worked diligently for that. So that is accommodate. What is the acronym we are discussing?
Rare.
Rare. Thank you. Good. So third R is refine. Now refine means that see there are, like I talked, there are multiple levels of desires. So we could say there are surface desires which we can just say no to. But then this no means we reject them. There may be somewhat deeper desires that we may say okay to. Okay means okay. Okay means okay. We accommodate them. But then there are still deeper desires. And those we can say yes to them. So for example, consider Arjuna. Arjuna had a natural gift for archery. And he had the natural talent. And many of us may know that story when his guru, Dronacharya, asked him. They had a bird, effigy of a bird on top of a tree. And Drona wanted them to shoot. What did he want to shoot? The eye of the bird. Now he called various disciples of his. Various students, Duryodhana and Drishtadyumna and everyone else. And he asked them, what do you see? Now, they said, oh, we see the tree, we see the branch. Now, what did Arjuna say? When Arjuna was asked, what did he say?
I can see only the eye.
I can see only the eye of the bird. Now, it's significant. Arjuna didn't say, I can only see Krishna. See, Arjuna is a devotee. But his devotion was expressed through his pursuit of excellence in archery. And we all have certain natural interests or talents. And those are gifts given by God to us. And the desire to develop those gifts is a noble desire. That desire has to be nourished, it has to be nurtured, it has to be refined. By refined, I here mean strengthened. You could say this desire has to be reinforced. So it is each one of us. Some of us may have some outstanding gifts, some of us may have some small gifts. So if somebody has a gift, see, quite often the talents that we have, they may begin as interest. Some people just have natural interest in something. Some children, they may just have a natural aptitude for music. Now, some kids just pick up a kartal when they are maybe 2 or 3 and they start playing it. and they start playing it, and how do they play it so beautifully? Now we could say it's some past life karma or whatever. They're prodigies. They have special talent. Somebody may be good at math, somebody may be good at language, somebody may be good at art, whatever it is. Those talents are there. So those talents, when they are there, they are like partially visible, buried treasures. So it is there, but every person with talent, the talent needs to be translated. That when we have a talent, talent plus commitment. That is what leads to achievement. That is how a person is able to do something valuable. So a gift to one is actually a gift for everyone. If one person has a special singing ability, now one person has beautiful decorational ability, the world can be a very dark and dreary place. Somebody has singing ability and they develop that ability and they sing, then they can bring light into the world. Isn't it? So basically, within this vision, I started with the vision. Let's say I am here, and say now Krishna is here. So what we have, that is Krishna's gift to us. So what we have, the interests that we have, the talents that we have, they are Krishna's gift to us. And then what we do with what we have, that is a gift from us. It is, we are given gifts so that we can give gifts. One devotee, Ranchor Prabhu, asked Srila Prabhupada, he was in London. At that time, London was the European headquarters of our movement. He asked Prabhupada, so the devotees from France, from Netherlands, from UK, from various parts had come to meet Prabhupada, and they were all telling, Prabhupada, this is how the service is going over here, this is how we have opened a center, this is how we distributed books. And this Ranchor Prabhu said, Prabhupada, what can I do for you? Everyone has something to do for you. What can I do for you? And then Prabhupada said, what would you like to do? He said, no. He said, no, bro, whatever you tell, I'll do. Prabhupada said, what would you like to do? He said, no, whatever you tell, I'll do. Prabhupada became great. He said, understand our philosophy. He says, find out what you like to do and do it for Krishna. Find out what you like to do and do it for Krishna. So now when you say somebody like to do, somebody says, I like to watch TV. I'll watch TV for Krishna. Well, that is, if you really want to become, if you have the talent and the interest to become a TV show producer, then you may watch TV from a particular perspective and that person can learn certain things. But if that's just a way of running away from the boredom of life, running away from taking responsibility, that's not useful. But what we like to do, that's why we're talking about here as not this surface desire, but a deeper desire. Like some people may eat food just because they are like pigs, they just want to eat everything. Now some people may eat a wide variety of foods because they're connoisseurs. Maybe they are cooks and they want to know the flavor of how different foods are made and how they taste, and they want to make different foods for Krishna. So what do we like to do? And we do it for Krishna. So it's important that we find some of our desires which we can use in Krishna's service. And again, the point over here, this desire is here in this world. In this world. Prabhupada would say that, how do we know we are Krishna conscious? He said, when you come to the deities, come in front of the deities, you ask. We should feel as if Krishna is asking us, what are you doing for me? So there are certain desires which need to be developed. And especially with respect to our children. Sometimes we may reduce bhakti to a set of rules, chant the holy names and do this and do that. Well, yeah, those are important things. But Now, within the set of natural interests that our children have, we need to find out, can we trigger their desire for Krishna? Now, I was at one devotee's house, and their son he was brilliant at robotics. He was like 9, 10, and he had once he was participating in national robotics competition in America. He was brilliant. So his parents were telling me when he was 5, 6, 7, he was very interested in bhakti. Now he's discovered robots, he has forgotten Krishna. So then I was talking with him, and then when I asked him about robots, one question, and I felt it was like, Keshav Kashmiri speaking 100 verses glorifying Ganga. Spontaneously started speaking. Then I asked him, okay, when you make robots in these competitions and the exhibitions, where do you get your ideas for them? This is most of the robotics currently is funded by Amazon. In their warehouses, they want robots which can pack and unpack and move things. So he said, so we make robots which are very flexible, lithe in movement. So I said, what do you think about making a robot of Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita? He said, no, not a good idea. So he went away, we continued talking with his parents. And then after 5 minutes, he came back. Hey, that's not a bad idea. And nobody else will make a robot like that. And he said, also, nowadays in the educational system, there is this whole emphasis of diversity and inclusivity and all those things. So he said, maybe I can try that. So then we continued talking. After a week, his parents called me and he said, he's reading the Bhagavad Gita to find out which verses will sound cool on his Krishna robot. So the idea is that we all have certain natural healthy desires. These are healthy interests. Not that the world needs to function. And for the functioning of the world, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the word Loka Sangraha twice. Loka Sangraham evapi sampashyan kartumarasi. Loka Sangraha is maintenance of the world. And for the world to be maintained, competent people are required. So, for example, right now we are speaking, we have the sound system. The sound system is made by somebody who's competent at sound design, sound engineering. So, those who have been given gifts, and they could be in the devotee community, they are meant to use those gifts in Krishna service. Now, for some people, their job might just be a job which I do to earn a living, and I'm not really much interested in that job. That's fine, you do the job. For most people, they just have a job. For some people, their job might be like their career or their passion. They go deep into that field, they do research, they do innovation. And if that is their passion, then that shouldn't be dismissed as mundane. Somebody who doesn't have much interest in their work doesn't have to become interested in the name of Krishna consciousness. But somebody has natural interest in their work, they don't have to divest their interest in the name of Krishna consciousness also. So if we have certain talents, interests, we can use them in Krishna service. And developing, reinforcing those desires will give us a certain sense of drive. Generally, we talk about there is the lower taste, and then there is the higher taste. So we generally talk about the lower taste as material and higher taste as spiritual. So lower taste may be material sense enjoyment, and higher taste may be coming to temple and taking darshan and hearing class and chanting the holy names. That is true. But in between these two, there can be a higher material taste. A higher material taste means when we do something according to our swabhava, according to our given nature, then we get a certain satisfaction in that. If somebody is of a Brahminical nature, then they study, they teach, they do research, they get some satisfaction in that. It may not be spiritual, but they get some satisfaction. And that satisfaction protects them from getting caught and pulled down by worldly desires. So now, Now, this higher taste, this higher material taste, it could be pursued in such a way that a person goes towards lower taste, or it could be done in such a way that a person goes towards the higher taste. That means some students, they may study and they like to study. Why do I want to study? So that I can impress the opposite sex, so that I can get attractive partners. Or you can say study so that I can learn something of value and do some service to humanity, to God. So that brings me to the last part. What is the last part in the acronym? E. E is elevate. So elevate means that the desires that we strengthen, that we reinforce the desires. That why am I doing it? So this is elevate to Krishna. So we will have a desire for Krishna directly in terms of the desire to do direct devotional activities. But that desire may not necessarily occupy our entire life. It's very difficult for somebody to think for the rest of my life I'll just hear and chant and I'll be happy. It's quite possible for some people. Srila Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion lectures that he's explaining this was Yena Kena Prakarin Mana Krishna Niveshe. Somehow or the other fix the mind of Krishna. There he says that I have practically invented this Krishna consciousness movement. Now Prabhupada said, I am like a postman. I haven't changed one word. What is Prabhupada saying? What is Prabhupada meaning when he says, I have invented this Krishna consciousness? What he meant was that the spiritual, the Bhakti Samu Siddhu say, fix the mind in Krishna. Now, how does one fix the mind in Krishna? That it is the spiritual master's responsibility to come up with ways and means by which the disciple can fix the mind in Krishna. So Prabhupada is giving the example of good distribution. In the past, the spiritualists would go and ask for bhiksha. He said in the Western world, we cannot go and ask for alms, but we go and distribute books. And through that, one's mind gets fixed in Krishna. So elevate means we have a desire for Krishna directly. This is a direct desire for Krishna as well as dedication of our other desires to Krishna. That means that, okay, I have some singing ability and I want to sing. But why do I want to sing? Not just to get the world's recognition. I want to get it so that I can please Krishna. I can do justice to the abilities that I have been given. If I'm here and if my focus is only the world, that means I do something and I expect something from the world. So I expect fame. I do work and I expect fame. Now the problem with this is, this will never be enough. Sometimes we may do something and the world may not recognize us. Maybe we may be doing a lot for our family, we may be doing a lot at our job. We may have talents, we may have abilities, we may be doing a lot, but people may not recognize us. And sometimes we may be recognized, but still it may not be enough. Like somebody has 1 million Instagram followers and their only vision is, why did this person have 2 million? So if we are only looking for reciprocation from the world, it will never be enough. But elevate means I am acting in the world, but I am acting for Krishna's pleasure. And the reciprocation is what I get from Krishna. So the extrinsic satisfaction from our work in this world, we may or may not get it. But when we are acting in a mood of service to Krishna, then we will get intrinsic satisfaction. So this is more extrinsic. This is intrinsic. The extrinsic satisfaction depends on our karma. And the most frustrating situation is, see, our karma, Krishna says, is gahana gati. It's a mixed bag. So some people may have the karma for talent, but they may have the karma for talent, but they may not have the karma for fame. It happens that some people, maybe somebody is a great author, but during their life they live throughout infamy, and after they die, then their books become famous. isn't it? So that person, so now if that person had not been getting any intrinsic satisfaction, then they would not even have written those books, isn't it? So if we are focusing only on the world's reciprocation, then we may not even do justice to our talents. Like some people, if you go to Vrindavan and other places, they would build temples and they would have such intricate carving on the temples. Now the temples might right now be in wilderness and nobody even notices the temple, you will notice the carving on the temples. But maybe 500 years down the line, somebody discover the temple, they restore the compound, and then people come and admire it. So from the world's perspective, nobody recognized it for many, many years. At least during their lifetime, nobody recognized it. But when they were devoted to the Lord, they created something of value in the world. And by that, they went closer to the Lord. So for us, it's elevating our desire so that we are desiring Krishna and directly. And what we are doing for Krishna in this world, we are doing it for Krishna, not just for cognition in this world. In this way, it's a holistic package. The desire management is not just say no to desires or say yes to desires. So as we practice bhakti more and more, naturally our higher desires will get elevated and reinforced. And our lower desires will become either reduced or accommodated appropriately. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. I discussed 5 main points. The first point I discussed was about with respect to when we discuss about the world and Krishna. So one vision is that Krishna is here on top and we have to turn away from the world towards Krishna. But the other is the world is also contained within Krishna. And how we act in this world is also connected with Krishna. So we have to see then the second point we discuss is attractive things in the world. They can be seen in 2 ways. What are the 2 ways? Anyone remembers? They can be a competitor or they can be a pointer. So we discussed the metaphor of the ocean and drops of water. So some drops may take us toward the ocean and some drops may take us away from the ocean. So these drops that are there, we want to reject them or our attraction toward those drops. And then we discuss these 3 points of dealing with desires, or rather 4 points over here. So what is the first one? Reject or reduce. So those which are anti-devotional, those which are drops of water that take us away from the ocean, we say no to them. And this is required for everything in life. So we have desires. They could be multi-level. Desires are not just one level. So surface desires, we say no to them. Then what was the acronym we were discussing? Where? A was accommodate. So accommodate means that we find out how we can stay yukta. Yukta means regulated so that we can be connected. So how much should my sleep be so that when I'm awake, I'm functional and I can be doing something valuable. I can stay connected with Krishna. So each one of us, so this yukta regulation, it has to be individually decided. And for that, we need both our own introspection, reflection, and consultation with others to decide this. So reject, reduce, this is 330. Each of this is 1041. Then accommodate is 617. Then we talked about refine or reinforce. There are certain desires. Find out what we want to do and do it for Krishna. A gift to one is actually meant to be a gift for everyone. Through that person, that gift is meant to be developed. So when we have some natural interests or talents, those are not something which we say no to, but rather we develop them. And by this, what happens is there's a lower taste, higher taste. We get a material higher taste that can sustain us till we get to the spiritual taste. And last was elevate. Elevate means that when I am functioning in the world, I don't just look at reciprocation from the world, that I am doing something and I want to get fame from the world. Rather, we elevate our vision, so we have a direct desire for Krishna, and then through the world, I am acting for Krishna, and Krishna will reward me. So in this way, when we elevate our desires, we will get intrinsic satisfaction. So the extrinsic satisfaction may or may not come. We won't be so much craving or dependent on it. In this way, our desires can become a power that takes us toward Krishna and not away from Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I think we are already over time. So one question, one or two questions if somebody has. Yes, please. Do we have a mic? Yes, please. Can we have a mic somewhere? You can speak loudly.
Mike. That's right.
So, we talked about how we should reinforce that desire to cultivate and love that connectivity towards Krishna. So sometimes that desire gradually disappears and there's no motivation to cultivate it. But at the same time, there's the thought that, well, I want to please Krishna, I want to serve Krishna. I guess another way of putting it is that like, I want to use this gift to the best of my capacity to serve Krishna. But that motivation isn't there to like, cultivate it, just that sort of stuff. So
Okay. I think there are 2-3 different things over here. Our mind is dynamic, and some people have many talents, and some people have to do many searches to find even one talent. Different people, we have different interests. So if we find that, okay, one particular thing interested me at a particular time, but that's not interesting me, that's not inspiring me that much. So we don't have to force ourselves to do only in that direction. Okay, find out at this stage what interests me. So some people, even in their normal material life, they may do many different things. They may have a career. Some people change their career in the middle of their life. Some people have a career, but then they also do something side gig. So just as we engage ourselves in the pursuit of our material life, we are also spirituality also made like that. Some people may just take one service and do it lifelong. Some people will find, okay, I like kirtan, and that person becomes a very good singer, very big musical instrument they play, and they move forward in that. Okay, now some others may say, I learned this now. I want to learn something else. Maybe I want to become a speaker, I want to become a counselor, whatever it is. So we may have to observe ourselves and see how we can keep that spark of desire going. So sometimes it may be that we do something else. Sometimes we need to associate with people who are pursuing that. One of the easiest ways to discourage ourselves in bhakti. Now we say, why do we have to discourage ourselves? But what it happens is to associate with devotees who don't share our definition of success in bhakti. So, for example, if my interest is in studying Shastra, I want to study the Bhagavatam, I want to learn the Bhagavatam, maybe in the future I want to become a teacher of the Bhagavatam. And if I am associating with people who are busy in building temples, then what is going to happen? Building temple is wonderful, but if that is not my inspiration, and if I'm associating with them, then all that will happen is I'll either make them feel insecure, why are you reading Shastra, or they will make me feel insecure. Maybe I should also be raising funds. So we also need like-minded association to reinforce our desire. So we have to see both ways. Either we find nourishment for that desire from association, or we find some other desire which may currently draw us towards it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I have written a few books. We have these two. This is Living the Ramayana. So especially about how Hanuman used his anger in Krishna's service. So he did not give up the anger, but he used it. That's something related with our desire management. That's there. So there are 10 incidents from the Ramayana which are addressed over here, and life lessons are drawn from there. And this is a book with 365 quotes based on the Bhagavad Gita. So when faced with competitors, the insecure fixate on comparing. The secure focus on learning. So each quote is inspired by one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Hold our plans lightly, hold our Lord tightly. And the devoted are not afraid of God, they are afraid of losing God. So each of these quotes is a quick thought for reflection. And if you Google it, you can find an article on my website which explains the quote as well as explains the Gita verse on which it is based. But even without that, it's an easy way of having something to contemplate on. So if any of you want, these two books are available here. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanand.
Says Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji ki jai.